Hello everyone! Today we are tackling the essential workflow for transforming regular horizontal video into sharp, phone-ready vertical shorts that actually look professional. Many of us use high-end cameras for superior color and detail, but those beautiful 16.9 clips immediately run into trouble when you need that 9:16 aspect ratio for Reels or TikTok. Simply cropping blindly into the middle often chops off crucial action or results in awkward, unbalanced framing that screams amateur hour. So, I'm going to walk you through a practical no-cost Blender process for conversion, and then show you a much faster AI alternative for when you tire of manual reframing. First, let's align on aspect ratios. Most cameras give you 16.9, like 1920 by 1080, but social platforms demand specific vertical real estate, most commonly the full-screen 9:16 format, while other ratios like 4:5 exist if you want absolutely zero empty space on a phone screen. The 1080 by 1920 vertical setup is what you absolutely need to target. Now, jump into Blender's video sequence editor workspace and simply import your high-resolution landscape footage to begin the editing process. After dragging your clip onto the timeline, you'll need to scale the strip just a bit so you can visually see the entire frame while you work on your settings. Crucially, Blender often defaults to 250 frames, so you must check your original clip's actual length and set the preview range to match the strip exactly. Don't forget to go into the output properties and manually change the end frame to match your clip's total frame count, otherwise you will only render a tiny fraction. Next, change the default 1920 by 1080 output resolution to your desired vertical specs. Set X to 1080 and Y to 1920 for that perfect phone fit. When you swap those numbers, you'll immediately notice the sides of your horizontal shot disappear, which is perfectly normal because the frame is now taller than it is wide. This brings us to the main event, framing, where you select your clip and open the transform properties to work with position and scale adjustments. You have two main philosophies here. You can use a compact fit, scaling down so nothing is cropped, but this leaves you with ugly black bars top and bottom, essentially letterboxing. Alternatively, we have the preferred crop and reposition method where you scale the image up until the vertical height is completely filled, then you meticulously shift the XY position to center the main subject. When you scale up to fill the frame, just ensure that in doing so, you aren't cutting off any essential subjects or foreground elements on the edges. I find myself leaning toward the crop method most often, demanding small adjustments to the X location until the main action sits perfectly within the vertical view. Remember to use very subtle movements when scaling or repositioning, because over-zooming too quickly in your keyframes can make the final video look jumpy and unnatural on mobile. For extra polish on shots with natural movement, you can keyframe a slight horizontal pan by animating the X location to smoothly follow the action across the screen. Once you've previewed the composition and you're happy with the result, it's time to move on to the final rendering stage in the menu. Choose the render animation option, select a safe output format like MP4 with the H.264 codec, and set a dedicated folder for your finished vertical exports. After it finishes processing, the absolute most important step is testing that file directly on your actual phone to see if the framing feels too tight or just right. That entire manual workflow is quite effective, but if you manage a high volume of content, manually importing, setting frames, and adjusting transforms becomes a massive time sink. This is precisely where an intelligent tool like Vizard steps in as a powerful workflow accelerator for creators drowning in hours of raw footage. Instead of manually scrubbing through long podcasts or live streams, you upload the source file, and its AI instantly scans for those high energy beats and key highlight moments. The system then automatically generates multiple, ready-to-post vertical clips that are already intelligently framed and optimized for immediate publishing on any short-form platform. You still maintain creative oversight, allowing you to preview every suggested clip and tweak the exact in and out points before committing to an export. A standout feature for consistency is the auto-schedule function, which lets the AI queue up your new clips for posting automatically at set intervals. Furthermore, the integrated content calendar provides a visual overview of all queued posts, letting you adjust captions or timing across platforms without ever leaving the dashboard. While powerful editors like Premiere and Final Cut exist, they demand expensive subscriptions and still require you to execute every framing cut manually unless you purchase third-party add-ons. Other basic AI tools often select contextually poor clips or output awkward framing that still demands tedious rework, meaning you haven't saved much time at all. Vizard really hits that sweet spot by balancing strong automated detection of viral moments with simple manual overrides and a distribution scheduler that makes publication painless. That said, keeping Blender in your toolkit is smart for those one-off pixel-perfect shots demanding custom motion or advanced stabilization techniques. Think of it this way: use Blender when you need total creative control for cinematic results, but rely on Vizard when you need to scale production and automate the weekly grind. As a final check, always remember to test your final vertical video directly on a physical phone before hitting that publish button. If your subject frequently crosses the frame, commit to those gentle, animated X-position keyframes to keep them centered rather than relying on a static, boring crop. When scaling up to fill the 916 frame, be mindful to avoid extremely high zooms that can introduce digital noise or noticeable softening to the original image quality. Always keep platform safe zones in mind, making sure that no critical text or overlaid graphics get accidentally covered up by system interface elements. I will be following up with a deep dive on advanced Blender reframing, showing off simulated camera moves and automated head tracking for perfect vertical centering. But for those who want to focus energy on creating fresh ideas instead of wasting hours on repetitive clipping, try Vizard today to automate the 80% of drudgery involved in repurposing content. To quickly recap the manual route: import, set frame range, swap resolution to 1080 by 1920, tweak the transform scale and position, and finally render the animation out. If batching dozens of clips and completely automating your distribution cadence sounds more appealing, give Vizard a test run. It saves hours and ensures consistent content output. I'll catch you all in the next video covering those advanced motion and framing tricks you can pull off for cinematic results.